You guys love these ground beef videos as much as we do. I love finding new ways to utilize a simple pound of ground beef, and I've got 3 amazing recipes here in this video. Do not miss these. I'm telling you, some of the best ones that we've had. Tonight's dinner is so convenient and easy. There's barely any prep. We're actually not even gonna spend any time over here before we head straight over to the stove and start cooking. This is called Millionaire Gnocchi, and it is so easy to make. It's perfect for a weeknight dinner. You're basically just tossing everything over on the stovetop, cooking it in a pan or a pot, and it's good to go. We are gonna add an herbed ricotta to the top of it to give it just like over the top flavor, but let's just head over there and get started. I'm gonna start with a decent enough size pan that we can cook everything in it. I'm not even gonna add oil to the pan because we are using this sweet Italian sausage and it's gonna have enough fat in there to cook. So let's get our heat turned on. And let's do medium high-ish. I'm gonna let that heat up for just a second and then we'll put in the Italian sausage. All right, so we just need to brown the sausage. So I'm just gonna let that get heated all the way through. I've also got a pot over here. We're getting it started. It's got water and salt in it, and that is gonna be for the gnocchi. Okay, we've got a really good cook here. You can see we've got some pieces that are nice and browned. Let me just give it about 15 more seconds, 20 more seconds, something like that. See if we can get a little more brown. That's what I love to see. When you get that brown color, that is the flavor right there. Maybe closer to a minute. We don't want to burn it, but we do want to have good flavor. Okay, this is looking really good. I'm gonna turn my heat down to low because we're about to just take this pan off the heat for a second. Let's transfer this meat to a paper towel lined plate, that's the word. Okay, that's just gonna sit there for a few minutes while we make up the sauce. I did lower my heat for the next step. Okay, so my heat is on a low. If the sausage that you're using has good fat left in it, you can just use what's in the pan. I wanna be careful not to burn the garlic. Okay, let's put about a clove or so in there. Okay, good, it's lowered. Sometimes I get a little nervous when we throw that garlic in there if it starts to get real loud in that saute sound. Okay, so we're just gonna saute for just about a minute. I don't really feel like I need any extra oil, but if I were adding onions to this, I probably would add that. Okay, just let that saute for just 1 to 2 minutes or so. I have a 28-ounce can of these no salt added crushed tomatoes. We're gonna empty this whole can into the pot. Okay, we don't have any burnt garlic, but it's looking nice and sauteed and it smells super fragrant. Okay, so let's go ahead and add in some oregano. And I'm gonna add about a teaspoon. And I'm just gonna toss that with the garlic real quick just to bring that oregano, that flavor out. Oh yeah, you can smell it. That's what I like right there. Okay, oh, I think my water's boiling. We are boiling. We're gonna add the gnocchi in just a second. And let's go ahead and put in that can of crushed tomatoes. I'm attempting not to get this on my shirt, but it's rare that we come out clean. Okay, mix all of this together. Let that simmer for a minute. Now, because I did not add onion, which absolutely feel like you can do that, I'm gonna add some onion powder. So maybe just under a teaspoon is good. Maybe a little, just however much you like, about a teaspoon. Mix that together. I really need to pull that gnocchi out and go ahead and put that in this boiling water. Okay, we're just gonna let this work on a medium-low heat for just a few minutes, just heating through all those flavors working together. I'm also gonna add a touch of cayenne red pepper, just a touch. That's maybe a 1/4 teaspoon. You could do crushed red pepper flakes if that's your preference. And we do need to add a little bit of salt. Remember, I did the no salt added crushed tomatoes, so probably a teaspoon is what I'm thinking it will be. We'll taste it in just a minute and kind of see where we are. I'm gonna be adding 2 packages of this gnocchi. It really just boils for about 2 minutes and then it's ready to go. Every time I try and add this to the pan, it all comes out all over and then the water splashes everywhere. Okay, so that's, like I said, it's only gonna take about 2 minutes for that to cook. Okay, this is looking good. It is, you can tell it's heated through, it's bubbling ever so slightly, ever so slightly. Okay, the water stopped boiling when I put the gnocchi in there, which is okay, but as it cooks, it rises to the top, or it floats to the top, so you can see them kind of floating to the top. So once they're floating, they're pretty much good to go. Okay, add the sausage back in. Stir that together. The gnocchi is almost done. I'm hoping I'll be able to fit all of this in the pan. We'll see how that goes. All right, so let's take the gnocchi and start to add it in to the pasta. This is the easiest way that I can do it. I really could have cooked it in the basket and then just pulled the basket out, but I forgot. Okay, let's kind of fold this together. Okay, we're gonna keep this on low and go over to the other side of the kitchen where I've got the next step. We're gonna make up an herbed ricotta that is gonna go with this. So I'm taking some rosemary. You can use whatever herbs are your favorite. That's my suggestion. We're also adding some oregano. I had some fresh oregano on the garden as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and chop that up and add it. If you're new here and you don't know what the garden system is, it's a groundbreaking, award-winning vertical garden system for growing herbs and vegetables and fruits indoors. We've been using ours for a couple of years now. You guys have heard me talk about it. If you're not new here, we love this thing. It's got hydroponic technology that's going to water your garden. You've got LED lights to create the optimal growing environment, so you always have plants even through the winter. There are several things that we have on our garden that we love. You guys see me use thyme and rosemary and parsley and mint and oregano. All of those especially, we use them so often. So I've actually been growing a few more of our most common used herbs and lettuces, and today we're gonna plant a few more of them in the garden because I've been growing them in this little system here. So it's so easy to do. In this little system, we're just gonna take the pods out that have been growing for a couple of weeks and add them to our garden system, and that's it. These will seamlessly integrate into the garden system so that we can have extras of all the things that we use most often. If you'd like a garden for yourself, you can unlock an exclusive offer from Garden by clicking the link in the description box below. You guys know this is not new to me. I've had this for several years now, and I've talked about it in so many different videos. I love this thing. We truly use it all the time. Super, super finely diced. And then the thyme, I'm not quite as concerned about with chopping up. I think it's fine, honestly. In my opinion, I think it's fine. So you can do, if you want to chop yours up a little bit, that works. I'm adding a touch of minced garlic. That's like maybe a half a clove. We've got a lemon here that I am going to zest and juice. If you don't have fresh lemon, that's okay. The zest of the lemon will add a lot of additional lemony flavor, but if you just have the lemon juice in your fridge, that's okay too. Okay, so we're just gonna zest that. Also, I was just thinking while I was working on those herbs, I would love to answer any questions that you guys have. If you ever have questions, like maybe it's about my kitchen, maybe it's about my house, you know, maybe it's about whatever. If you leave those in the comments, I'm gonna do my best to start answering those in future videos. So yeah, just leave those below. When I'm standing here doing stuff like this, then I can answer your burning questions if you have any. Okay, I think that's decent enough for the amount that we're gonna have. I actually may need to use the juice out of my fridge because there's like barely anything in here. I am gonna add a touch of lemon juice from the fridge because that lemon had like no juice. I have no idea what happened. Okay, let's add a pinch of salt. We need to add about 6 ounces or so of ricotta. That's probably about half of this container. So I'm gonna go with roughly half. And then just mix this together, incorporate it really well. You could throw it in a blender if you want to. I'm not too worried about it. We're just gonna mix it just like this. Now, if you really wanna make this even more fun, add a touch of pesto to your ricotta. As a matter of fact, I think I have pesto. I'm gonna check. I might add a little bit to mine just for that extra oomph that pesto has. All right, there's another little step here that I would not consider to be necessary at all, but it is really good. So I have about a half tablespoon or so of butter. It might be closer to a tablespoon. You probably don't even need quite that much. Yeah, let's just do that half. And we're just gonna toast up some panko breadcrumbs. And really it just is a little crunch to the top. It's worth it, it's good. That's maybe like a 1/4 cup or so. It really doesn't need long, just like 30 seconds to a minute. Let it toast up in that butter. And my heat is on a medium heat right now. Okay, honestly, that's pretty much it. We'll turn the heat off. All right, here's how we're gonna serve this. We're gonna take some of the gnocchi mixture. Okay, you want a decent amount on here. Take some of that ricotta, just put it right in the center there. Come over to the toasted breadcrumbs, and you can just sprinkle some of that on the top. And then we're gonna top with some more fresh thyme because it's really pretty like this. Okay,
hey everybody.
Millionaire Gnocchi with a tomato sauce, the herbed ricotta. We've got some, what's it called? Toasted panko breadcrumbs, and then served with the herbs on the top.
Gnocchi is potato, right?
Yes, it's potato.
How do they do that? How do they make it taste different than potato?
Well, it's mixed with flour, so it's more pasta texture because of that. So you can make it yourself. It's actually not that hard to make, but this is just so convenient and easy to open a package.
That's good. Okay, let me get some of that in there.
Yep.
And then some of that.
Come on.
And you said sausage is in there?
Oh yeah, Italian sausage. Yep.
Okay. What's the crunch? Nuts?
Panko. That's really good.
That is nice. That's a nice touch. This is one we were talking about, how Italian is good warmed up. You'd have to save the panko outside.
You'd have to redo it. I mean, we assembled it all separately, obviously, but
if you knew you were going to have leftovers, you'd want that to add that.
Well, you want the ricotta to be separate as well.
Yeah.
So I mean, you can heat ricotta, it's fine, but in this case, it's served at more like a room temperature.
Yeah.
This is very good.
It's so good.
Really good flavors here. I love the fresh herbs. You really, really get the fresh herbs in that ricotta, and then on the top as well.
Yep. Carb load.
It's really good. Great for a weeknight meal. I highly suggest this one for sure. We're trying this recipe together for the very first time tonight. This one is called, I believe it's Manestra. It says that it's a Greek comfort food, and I enjoy all the flavors, so I'm really excited to see how this one turns out. It's interesting though. There's some really unique flavors in here, so hang with me. The majority of this is made over on the stovetop, which makes it so easy. It's essentially a one-pot meal, which is fantastic. Now, because the meal that I made last night also required ground beef, I went ahead and just browned 2 pounds of ground beef so that tonight it would be even easier. We could get this recipe done in probably 20 minutes, maybe even less because this part is already finished. Okay, so let's start by getting our heat on, and I'm going to a medium-high, and I am gonna put just a touch of oil into my pot. That's probably a ½ teaspoon. It's really not much at all. And I did go ahead and drain all of the fat off of my ground beef. It was already a pretty lean ground beef anyway, but I wanted to drain off any of the excess. Okay, let's put in that ground beef. Also, while this is cooking, I've got some fresh minced garlic. I'm gonna add about a clove of garlic there so that that can heat up with the beef. So remember, since this is already fully cooked, it's just a reheat process. and letting that garlic get a little bit of a saute on it. Now, if you're starting from the beginning and you don't have cooked up ground beef, then that's all you gotta do. You just gotta brown it up. Okay, this should take about 2 minutes or so to come back up to temperature. While that is coming back up to temperature, I just pulled some mint off of the garden. You can use spearmint or, oh, what's the other thing? I'll leave it in the description box. I can't remember. We have fresh mint. We have had fresh mint for a while. So you just need about a tablespoon of chopped fresh mint. I definitely pulled more off than I needed. So I see a virgin mojito in my afternoon coming up here. All right, let's chop that up. Okay, that's approximately a tablespoon. All right, this is back up to temperature. It looks really good. I'm turning my heat more down to a medium. We need to add some other ingredients. In this container here, I have just under a teaspoon of salt and about a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. Add that in and mix that together. Smells amazing. The flavor combination here is very unique. We've got the mint that we just chopped. All of that can go in. Okay, just let that become fragrant for just a minute. I'm gonna add in an entire can of tomato paste. The trick here is to open both sides of the tomato paste. Then you can just push through like so. Obviously you don't wanna leave the lid in there, but it's easy to just pull right out. Okay, let's mix this and let it all just become really fragrant together. So just a couple minutes working together here. And I'm going more toward a medium-low now on my heat. Okay, just let this kind of sit for 1 to 2 minutes or so, maybe even a little longer, a couple minutes, and it will really just enhance the flavors of that tomato paste. Okay, give it a quick stir. I'm kind of wanting the tomato paste to brown just a bit. It almost turns like this really nice, rich red color, and it's definitely getting there, so just a couple more minutes. For this next step, you can absolutely just use water. For the protein count, I'm actually gonna use half bone broth, half water. So we've got 2 cups of bone broth and 2 cups of water here for a total of 4 cups of liquid. Go ahead and pour all of that in. Okay, we've got kind of a low boil here, so I'm gonna turn this down to a medium heat. I want it to be simmering. Actually, let's do more of like a medium low. I've got 1 cup of uncooked orzo. That's all gonna go in. Let's give this a bit of a stir. Now I'm gonna put the lid on, and this is gonna cook for about 20 minutes, but we need to be at a medium low to low temperature here. We want it to simmer, but we don't want it to be anything crazy here. So lid on. I'm gonna set my timer for 10, kind of check it, make sure nothing's sticking, and hopefully for a total of about 20. I actually love meals like this where something is simmering in a pot for 10 to 15, 20 minutes, whatever it is, because it gives me an opportunity to clean everything up so that I can continue on after it's done with the rest of dinner. Or after dinner, there's way less to do. It's definitely starting to absorb some of the liquid. I think what I'm gonna do though is for the next 10 minutes, I'm gonna leave the lid off. And this might supposed to be served more soupy, but I think I would prefer if the liquid evaporated out a pretty decent amount. And that might not be authentic, that's just a preference for what I'm feeling for tonight. So I'm gonna leave the lid off, still keeping my heat on a medium low, closer probably even to low. And we're gonna cook this for about 10 more minutes and just let that liquid continue to evaporate and the orzo pasta cook. This is exactly the consistency that I was hoping for. So I think for me, it worked to leave the lid off. Now, I can't speak for whether or not it would come out like this with the lid on because I left the lid off. But let me show you how we're gonna serve this. We're just gonna top it with a little bit of Parmesan cheese and a little bit more mint for color, and it's gonna be so stunningly beautiful. And look, all in one pot. I was trying to wait on my husband to get home to try this. However, I don't know how much longer he's gonna be. So I'm gonna try it, and then I'm gonna have him try it on camera when he does get home. I'm gonna let you know. Let's see what we think. I did top it with a little bit of that mint, some Parmesan, Romano, and Asiago. It was a blend that we have. That's really good. It could use a touch more salt. So I did not put a full teaspoon of salt in. I went less. I think it needs the full teaspoon. It's so interesting though. You do get a little hint of that cinnamon, and you get a little hint of the mint, but the mint is not overpowering at all. The mint to me was like, ooh, I don't know how this one's gonna turn out. It's very tomato base, obviously, because tomato paste, but other than a little bit of salt, this is really good. I feel like my kids are going to love this one. That's really good, friends. I would absolutely make this again. Definitely.
Welcome back to the program, everybody.
Okay.
Or the channel.
So.
Or the video.
Oh my goodness.
All depending on what generation you're in. You know you are.
We've got, I think it's pronounced Manestra. Manestra. It's Manestra. Manestra?
Yeah, I would guess Manestra.
Maybe. Okay.
Depends on the language, I guess.
There's a decent amount of mint and cinnamon in this.
Oh, is that?
Surprisingly, that's mint.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And you put a lot of mint on the top of yours. I did not give him any details on this at all.
I loaded it up, y'all.
I'm pretty sure you thought, what, parsley?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. And I also added salt since my taste test. It needed a little salt.
I'm glad I added mint.
You like it a lot?
I get that first, you know, it's
really
aromatic,
fragrant.
you know?
Yeah.
And the saltiness is there.
Yeah.
The salt profile.
Yeah.
That's good.
It's
I
good,
love
right?
Orzo. Yeah.
It's very unique in its flavors though. I do think the cinnamon, so this is reheated, by the way. So I made it earlier because actually one of the reviews said it's better reheated. And so that was perfect for today because I needed to make it early in the day. We had volleyball tonight, and then we were gonna come home and eat a later dinner after volleyball. So
we were just saying that the other night, how Italian is one food that is almost better reheated.
Well, this is Greek. It's supposedly
But
Greek. It's
kind
a
of
Greek
Italian.
comfort food.
You know what it reminds me of? It was one of my weekly meals that I lived off of. Hamburger Helper.
Oh my gosh.
It does. I know that may cheapen it.
Oh my goodness.
But those things were so good.
You just offended like at least 500 people.
Oh, if you know, you know.
It is really good though. It tastes very hearty. It definitely tastes like a comfort food, but you get the aromatics from that mint.
Yeah, delicious.
We're gonna make these Korean beef bowls that are so delicious, awesome flavor. You can add things in that you love, take away things that you don't. They package up so nicely into different containers, and they reheat really well. I've already got some rice in the rice maker over here. It's almost done actually, and we're gonna get started on the actual beef part of this recipe. All of that is over on the stovetop, so let's head over there and get started. Okay, I'm gonna get my heat turned on here. Let's go with a medium high. And I have 1 pound of ground beef going in to the pan, if I can get it out of the bag. When I make lunches like this, I try and make them less fatty. Typically, our dinners have a little bit higher fat content in them. A lot of times I'm filming dinner, it's really yummy, it's gonna have all the good things in it. So for lunch, I like to scale back on the fat content quite a bit, and I like for it to have a decent amount of protein. I typically stack my day early with lots of protein and lighter on the fats. That's just how it ends up working out for me. And then at dinner, we have it a little bit heavier. So I'm not even adding any oil to the pan. You can. If you want to go with the really Korean flavors, go with a sesame oil. If you don't have that, don't worry about buying it. Just use avocado, olive oil, whatever it is that you typically use. This is a 90-10 ground beef. Like I said, I go less fat when I am making stuff for lunches. You could even go 93-7 if you really want it to be lean. I'm gonna add in some minced garlic. probably about 3 cloves. It's a really decent amount of garlic for this recipe. Okay, stir that in. We're on a medium heat. You guys know how much we love ginger, so I'm gonna add in some ginger, at least a tablespoon. But I like a lot. Okay, we add in that ginger. I'm gonna turn my heat down a little bit more so it's like a medium low now, just because now everything's cooked. We're just adding in the ingredients. About 4 tablespoons of soy sauce. This is what we use. It is the no soy sauce. So it tastes like soy sauce, but it's not soy sauce. About 4 tablespoons of that. About 3 tablespoons of rice vinegar. This is something that, you know, you may not use all the time, but you just keep it in your pantry for when you need it. You can add a sweetener to this if you want. I don't. I actually really like the savoriness of this, but if you want to add maybe honey. Honey would be a good one. You know what? Let's add just a little bit of honey. And when I say a little bit, I really mean just a little bit, because you don't want it to be sweet. That's not really what you're going for. It just cuts some of the saltiness of all the other flavors. Add a little bit of heat in mine, so some sriracha, about 4 teaspoons or so, 4 to 5, just depending on how much heat you like. This is so easy to make. I have some carrots that are already shredded. If you guys have been here for a while, you know that this is something we pretty much always have on hand. I just store them in water in our refrigerator, and that way we can just pull them out and use them. All right, add as many carrots or as few carrots as you like. And we are gonna cook this for maybe 2 minutes or so. I like my carrots to stay pretty crunchy, so that's a preference thing. You just, if you want yours to soften up, then cook it for a little bit longer. I'll usually prep however many containers we have, and then the rest of it I'll put into separate large containers and then prep again after we use the first few. So right now we have 3 of these clean. I think in total we have 5. So normally I will try and prep 5 of them. But just take some of that protein, put that on the top. You can put this into separate containers if you want to. It's really pretty like that as well. Or you can just put some on the side like so. Let me show you what you can do if you do it like this. Now I typically will wait until the day that I'm gonna eat it, but you can put slices of cucumber like right here, and it adds green to it, which is really pretty. I personally, it depends. Do you want your cucumbers to stay crunchy, or do you want them to kind of soften up? I like mine to stay crunchy. I like the 2 distinct textures. So it depends on how you prefer it, okay? But I also really like, there's these cucumbers that we made the other day that have soy sauce and red pepper flakes, and they're kind of spicy and they get a little bit soft, but not completely soft. So good, so good. Okay, so prepping a few of these. Then take some chive or some green onion, put that on the top so that you get some green color. I might need to go get another. That comes right off the garden. But I mean, can you ask for more? So like I said, if you add the cucumber slices in here, that offers another element of color, which is so pretty, and that crunch, I love that. But this is it's so easy, guys. It's so easy to make this and throw it together and have it available for several days in a row. Okay, so I usually make enough that my husband and I can eat this for at least 2 days. That's kind of how sometimes we get a 3rd day, or maybe I'll get a 3rd day and then he eats something else for lunch. I actually don't mind eating the same thing several days in a row for lunch. He would prefer probably to change things up more regularly. But let me just taste it just so I can give you guys a taste test, obviously. It's so good, such good flavor. I love the way that this one tastes. And because we add that sriracha in, it packs heat, which I personally really like. If you don't want the heat, obviously leave that out. But man, with that heat at the end, I love that. That to me, if I get a lunch like this, I feel like it sustains me for the rest of the day, and then I am good. I can conquer the afternoon, because I have a tendency, if I don't eat a good lunch, I'm done at 1 o'clock. My day is over. I don't have any more energy for anything. So this is how I keep going during the day. Because I don't have any more of the containers, we'll just take the rest of this and put it into one of these, this size. Same thing with the rice. I like to separate it out, and then whenever these get cleaned or washed after we use them, then we can add more into them so that they can go in the fridge and they're ready to go. Now, honestly, for us, since we're always home, my husband works from home majority of the days, and the kids are home. So a lot of times for us, we'll just leave it in the fridge like this right here, and then take the two things out, put it in a bowl and reheat it. So that's a pretty common thing for us as well. Our verse today comes from John 14:27. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you're new here, I would love if you would subscribe and stick around. You're gonna get tons more content just like this that is going to inspire and encourage you. Before you leave, make sure you check out the video that I have listed above because you're going to love it.